Mike's Daily Podcast.
Wow, here we are at Thursday. Thank God. You know what I did this week? I trained somebody and it was busy and I couldn't get to you in this room that I am in that's got awesome sound effects that sound like, let's see. Is any of these working?
Standing out here yelling rabble, rabble, rabble isn't going to help anything.
That's right. So don't say rabble, rabble, rabble. It's pointless.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
But it's good to be here today because it is FF episode 1691,
Mike's Daily Podcast.
And we are here at Cafe Anyway, I am thinking about people that are starting to scream and shout because something came out today about the Catholic Church hiding all the pedophiliacs and all the idiots and the maniacs and the people that, you know, were in the priesthood.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
That did awful, terrible things and they covered it up. Grand jury came out with that report today.
Mike's
So this is something
Daily
that is going to be
Podcast.
big news or not.
Yeah!
Maybe we'll just talk about how our president likes to refer to women as dogs. That's whatever that is. Could I get away with that ever? No. Would I ever even call a woman a dog? No. Unless she wanted me to. You know, I don't know if that's the kind of thing. I want you to call me a dog. Like I am a dog. That was a Russian... I don't know why I went to Russian woman for that. Look who just walked in. I did once go on a walk. It was a quasi date. All we did was walk with my dog, Basil the Boxer. And I remember her talking about her cat. Basil sound effect there. Talking about her cat, and she referred to her cat as her cat. And that's all I got for that. But look who walked in. Some wonderful people.
Hello, Mike Matthews. It's Chely Shoehart, the draft supervisor. Is Melania Russian?
Melania Trump? No. She's that other country. Look who else walked in. What happened there? Look who else walked in. Oh, Mike, this is Floyd the Floorman. And this is John Deere, the engineer. It's great to have a sound effect interrupt what I'm saying. Isn't it? Isn't it the best thing ever? Sound effects interrupting you? Woo! So I just was enjoying the daily podcast on the New York Times website thing. And they said that, you know, Charlottesville.
And here's today's podcast picture.
That's all we were talking about over the weekend was Charlottesville. Well, that's an interesting story because after the horrible the deaths that happened last year during the demonstrations with the Ku Klux Klan and Antifada and Basil again. Basil apparently just had so much energy yesterday. He was running with my lovely lady friend on this big grass field, and he just was nonstop. Just go. So that's awesome. He warms our hearts, doesn't he? So yeah, back to Charlottesville. So the mayor basically got ejected because people came after that horrible day. They came to the hearings and the council meetings, and whenever the mayor was trying to talk, they would shout him down, and he got voted out. And so this new mayor is a woman who comes from the resistance, as it were, comes from the demonstrators, is a person who, an activist.
I'm now back to being an activist citizen and part of the resistance.
No, that's not who it was. I forget her name at the moment, but she was trying to do the council meetings like where she would let people talk, because she complained that the previous mayor would not let people talk, and she allowed people to. Well, it got out of hand. I guess there was a reason for the rules, and this new mayor quickly found that out. And she, in fact, at one point, and they have this on the podcast, she says, "Look, it pains me, but apparently we all talk over each other, so I've got to put the rules in." And she's basically crying as she says this. And I found it fascinating because there is a difference between government and governing and getting things done. And yes, we have a crazy administration. Everything gets all clogged up with all the paperwork and everything. But at the same time, there's a reason for a lot of that. because it can just get out of hand and become hoi polloi and crazy. So it was an interesting contrast in those two, because yes, we need to voice our opinions, and at some point though, the word, everybody shouting and yelling, they're all saying the same thing, and nothing's getting done. And at some point, everyone needs to shut up, and governing needs to happen. People need to write and do the laws and the lawyering and all that other crap that we hate, and the sausage needs to be made so that we can have some delicious sausage. That's just so, it's common sense. I know, you know, but I find it fascinating that, you know, there is many activists have become politicians, or politicians become activists.
I'm now back to being an activist citizen and part of the resistance.
But at some point, rubber needs to meet the road, and things need to get done. So, and no amount of shouting can stop that or get stuff done. Hey, there's a lot of fat, bloated people that love to annoy other people. And I only bring that up because for some reason, at particular places I've been to, I get this one. Anyway, that was just a little concept. I know that when I'm fat and bloated, kind of how I'm feeling right now, I want to annoy people, and that's why I'm doing my podcast. But the point is that it's good to not drink 6 beers when you get off of work. Maybe drink 1. Maybe drink none. Maybe drink some delicious prune juice. But at the same time, don't annoy people, no matter what size your girth. But I did have, I guess I was talking about someone, but now I don't remember what it was. Okay, at any rate, there was a thing. Was I talking about you, Floyd? I don't know. I'm hurt. No, it wasn't you. Let's just talk about something else than girth. Let's talk about the wonderful world of the podcast person who is... Or no, wait, we'll do this. The Daughtry Building. The Daughtry Building in Castro Valley is changing, finally. So this building's been this big, empty, scary place with that drip, drip, drip sound that you hear when you walk in, and little mice scurrying around for a long, long time. And now it's going to become the Castro Valley Marketplace, and you could be any size or girth to go in there because it's got really big doors. And the point is that you can go in and shop, and it's going to be a wonderful place. I can't believe it. It's finally going to be developed. That's what they say anyway. We'll see if that actually happens. I was telling my lovely lady friend about how Mike's Daily Podcast came into existence, and I suddenly remembered, oh yeah, wait. It happened back in like Huntsville, Alabama, where I had gotten released. I was no longer with the company known as Cumulus, and so I was like, I'm not gonna ever be in radio again. I'm out. I'm done with the radio world. And I was listening to an NPR station, a public broadcasting station in Huntsville, and I just sent the program director a quick little email and a link to MySpace. It was back in the MySpace days. And I told them, yeah, hey, I have a little experience in radio. I'd like to help you guys out. And the guy wrote me back, the program director for this NPR station, and said, hey, I was listening to that air check tape you got on that MySpace account, and it said you had that old show you did in Ventura, the Santa Fe Cafe. I like it. Can you do something like that for an NPR station? So I attempted to do that, and I made it at home on the software. I had some audio software, editing software on my computer, and I put this show together that sounded a little bit like what you hear today. And here we've gone 1,691 episodes into it. Episodes. Needless to say, I sent it to him. He didn't like it. He did take me out to lunch. We ate Indian food in Huntsville, Alabama. It had a great conversation, and I don't know what became of Oliver Stoutner. That's his name, Oliver Stoutner. Could that be any more NPR sounding? Hello, this is Oliver Stoutner. So, yeah, Oliver Stoutner. The thing is that was what inspired this show. This show kind of had a couple names in the beginning. It was the Messy Desk for a while because I didn't have any sound effects at first. You got to start humbly sometimes. I know this one podcast person that I was talking to who wants to start podcasting, wants to come out of the gate with, guns a-blazing and horses a-whinnying and just have it sounding like the biggest, best show ever. But you got to start small. You got to start humble. You got to have soft openings sometimes and get it just going. At least get it going. And I had this show, no sound effects, just me chatting away. It was not the most exciting thing, but it taught me a lot about podcasting. It was called The Messy Desk. Then that morphed into The Last Place on Earth, which was the actual idea for the name of the show that I sent to Oliver Stoutner back in Huntsville, Alabama. And then that morphed into... Oh, wait, there was the Podcast Picnic, Mike's Podcast Picnic in there somewhere, too. And then The Last Place on Earth morphed into Mike's Daily Podcast. So at the end of this year will basically be 10 years since I've been podcasting. And my advice to podcasters or anyone who wants to podcast is you do it yourself. Don't hire someone, because in the end that's costing you money that you ain't going to make when you start a podcast. That's coming out of your pocket. You got to keep your costs low, and you got to learn and learning to podcast is not that difficult. You just got to learn some basic things about recording audio and about uploading audio, and that's about it. And the internet. And if you don't know those things already, you need to learn that stuff anyway, because you have other things that are going to be needing that attention later on. So that's advice for everyone wanting to, as we go outside a cafe anyway, we're bringing Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcaster Valley. So the Omarosa thing is crazy. Republicans asking, why did Trump even hire her in the first place? That kind of went without any... If Trump is complaining about, I'll never hire her again. I fired her multiple times now. And yet, why was she even hired to begin with? So...
You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired.
So that's... You reap what you sow, is basically what that comes down to. And Omarosa, who knows? Would she ever run for president? I love how the White House called her, what did they call her? Well, basically she loves the attention, she loves the spotlight, and she's capitalizing on that. But it's who else does that? Let's see. But I don't want to get political. Hey, here's a tip for you who are students. Did we go outside a cafe anyway? We're bringing Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcaster Valley? I think we did. Okay, so if you are a student and you are being taught one-on-one by someone, let's say you're at a job, let's say a radio job, and the guy is training you, don't keep saying to him, oh yeah, I know how to do that. I did that at blah, 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 blah. No. Here's what you do. If you're a student, you shut up and listen. God put 2 ears on your head and 1 mouth. So use the 2 ears, not the 1 mouth. Shut up. God, I've had that over and over again when I've trained people. They're just talking to me. Yeah, I remember back when this one guy, I couldn't teach him anything. He was older than me, and he had to keep telling me about all the times he was number 1 in the ratings in some small town and never enough. And finally, my last point is enjoy your day. Be healthy. Eat healthy things. Don't drink a lot. I had a long conversation with someone I went to high school yesterday. We had a long 1-hour discussion about how so many people that we went to school with are now huge. And I didn't even have that up, and I apologize. I need that to be played right now. Huge. So the thing is, we need to watch our health, and alcohol turns to sugar. Just remember that. You can't just drink alcohol. Red wine is good for you. No, just stop. Just try and cut it out as much as you can out of your life is my point, if you've learned anything from today's podcast. Next show, it'll be Benita, the Disgruntled Fiddle Player, and the Brewmaster. Ooh, and what will the podcast picture be? How about this one? Since we talked about 2008 a little bit, and when I began podcasting, let's look back to 2008. When I went to, or 2009 actually, this isn't 2008, it's 2009, when I went to New York, the only time I've been to New York, and I'm looking out over Central Park from the top of the Met, and it was a wonderful day. So I put this picture there at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. You can see that from almost 10 years ago. And my lovely lady friend hails from the Bronx. So I don't know if that's the proper pronunciation for it. But there, you can see that picture at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. So I guess it all comes back around, doesn't it? I was talking with my lovely lady friend about when I see pictures of myself from 10 years ago or back from when I was married, I don't look as happy as I do now in pictures. And she said the same, that she feels that she looks happier now. I think that's a good thing. We all need to be happier and watch our girth, etc. By the way, on KFOG, a station I used to adore in the Bay Area, now it features as the station voice, the voice is that you hear at the in between every single song going, KFOG. You're listening to KFOG. Not the DJ, but the station voice. That guy sounds like total Brohame. Yo, Brohame, you're listening to KFOG. Ugh. Another great decision from Cumulus. Hey, I guess I'm not going to try and get a job there. But that's finally the end of the show. So enjoy your day. Thank you for listening. Woo!
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. Email Mike now at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!